Hello, everybody. Welcome back to one of our lovely Mooncolony live streams. Um, Today, I've got with us again one of our amazing art directors, Arthur. Hello, Arthur. How are you doing?
Everybody, how are you doing?
Yeah, I think I'm doing good. But today, you are going to be giving us some tips and tricks on figure drawings, right?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. So this is an exercise actually that doubles as just figure drawing professionally, I guess, or for as a preparation for an illustration. Um, are you okay? Is it okay introduction wise? Can I just go on?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say
Mhm.
go in. If anyone in the chat has any questions as we go along, then be sure to put them in, and then I'll slot them in at a
Okay.
opportunity. Um, but yeah, I'm happy to let you take it away.
Okay.
And I'll be here.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So I'll present the exercise. By the way, Anthony, I see you A2C in the chat. How's it going? Uh, yeah. So Anthony, you know this exercise because I've shown it to you before. So this is old news. You don't even have to be here, man. It's okay if you turn up. But yeah. So it's something that so you know 10, 12 years ago now when I was studying illustration at Chen Wei's studio. So Chen Wei is this illustrator from China. Let me just so this is his I'll, yeah, Lowland Chain. Where you can find it on DeviantArt.
Yeah, I'll
He
find
was
it.
my illustration teacher back in the day. I took one like a sort of sabbatical 2 years in China after I graduated from language school. Uh,
Mhm.
First year I studied Chinese, and second year a friend of mine just recommended I join him into this course here. Yeah, thank you for posting the link.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
problem.
so he's a great illustrator, very cool guy too. He was very kind to me, and when I was sort of doing the sort of going through the basics of his course early, in the year, in that second year, he recommended this exercise. So I'll show you what it's like. This is the PDF that he shared with me. It's those are like just things. This is something he put together. So illustrations or concept arts from these are kind of dated now, they're from 10, 12 years ago, maybe even older because that's just when I was there. And so basically, you have the reference material on one side, and then a sort of, a sort of figure drawing of it on the other side. And as beginners, our exercise was to put this on our screen, hide the line art with a piece of paper, just like tack a piece of
Mhm.
paper on our screen, or just place a book in front of it or something. And then on a drawing pad, we would have to sort of draw from imagination what that line art would look like, what that figure drawing would look like. And then once you're done, you just remove the, the book or whatever you had to hide the line art on the screen, and you just compare. You see where you went off, when where you were good enough and stuff like that. So, and you would just go through like all of these really. That was his sort of his exercise for beginners, and it's something that I kept doing even after it was like not mandatory, because it's really like my figure drawing skills are as good as I left them,
Mhm.
at that time. Uh, if I keep going, I'll get better at it. But this is you'll see. That's pretty much where I left it. And it's really cool. It's a really good exercise because I'll show you the basic shapes to sort of learn. Uh, it's this exercise is really good because it allows you to sort of broaden your range of gestures and proportions and style, stylized sort of proportions,
Mhm.
uh, using very simple and replicable shapes, things that you can just use over and over again. So let me walk you through. I'm not going to use his material. This is, first of all, it's his stuff, and second of all, it's, yeah, maybe a little dated in terms of references.
Mhm.
Some Monster Hunter stuff. Anyway, all right. So like for the sake of this example tonight, I'll just be using one of my illustrations something I did for Hearthstone, I think back in 2018 or 19. And so let me show you basically those shapes, those sort of basic shapes that you can use in every time you do that exercise. So first, what you would do is just sort of like quick, dynamic lines or something to just get the gesture, the overall physicality of the character just on that blank page. In like my teacher's exercise, what we would do is we would actually hide this side of his PDF. Like we just hide it and then draw on a piece of paper in front of us. But for just by yourself alone, in your if your screen is big enough, just have the reference on one side and just a blank thing on the other side. That's enough.
Yeah.
And so rough dynamic lines like this, just to sort of get a sense of what the gesture, how much the character occupies, on the page. Then start with the sort of core shapes of the torso and hips. So what's really important for the torso and the hips is that you draw these sort of median lines here. And also the side lines here. I'm just going to run you through, walk you through all the basic shapes, and then we'll do I'll just do an exercise just to show you what it looks like in real time. But for now, let's just go through the basic shapes. So super important. You indicate the sides of the form and the center, the sort of symmetrical axis, I guess, or at least the middle line of the form. This way, you have a strong sense of volume and the angle of view for this form. Another important thing to indicate, super important, is the collarbone here, because that will sort of define an area for the neck to be attached to. Hey Ricardo, Milars, I see you in the chat. Nice to have you here. This is old hat to you too, Ricardo. I've also shown this to you before. Sorry.
It'll be a good refresher.
Hopefully. Actually, Ricardo is really good. He took that exercise too hard. He showed me probably 20. You probably showed me 20 sketch after sketch after sketch of stuff from Hearthstone, World of Warcraft, whatever. It was really really cool, and I think you progress. If I may say humbly, as your senpai, I think you progress for sure with that exercise. So right, because if you don't, just to go back to the shapes, if you don't indicate those median lines, it's easy to misinterpret or to sort of have a vague, placement for this, and it really can change the whole physicality, the whole gesture even. So what you want to do with these basic shapes is really anchor on the blank sheet of paper, not only the proportions but also the angle of view. And also having median lines like this will help you if you then if this is for work or for practice, not just as a figure drawing exercise but as the base for constructing a character, having those median lines will help you anchor chest plates or something, decorations in symmetry like this. You'll have a good sense of exactly an orthographic sense of where things should be.
Because this isn't just a practice exercise. As you said, you can use this as a base to actually go to produce a character using it as well.
For sure. Actually, let me see if I have it somewhere. That would be here. My sketches, for Hearthstone, at least the poses. I want to show you that this is the real deal. This is not some make-believe exercise, whatever. Let me show maybe some that are more clearly just. Okay. So this is. Well, obviously this is more refined. There's muscle indications and stuff. But let me show maybe it's gonna be somewhere. because sometimes I was lazier than others. So I would sometimes just like submit this basically. So this is a good example of like just gestures
Yeah.
without costume or anything. Maybe sometimes it's because I would have like the design already done, like provided to me as a reference, and all I wanted to show to my art director was like, hey, which pose you prefer, you know, and then he would
Yeah.
know that I could just tack the costume on top, so it would be no big deal, but it's still a little lazy.
Mm.
Anyway, but this is, you know, this is the actual practical application of that exercise.
Yeah. And you can still see those core shapes in there as well.
Yeah. Let me see elsewhere. Yeah, for example, sometimes I would like do a full character on one side and then just an alternate pose on the other side, just in case that would be interesting. Okay, that's a good one too. Just a series of poses. Oh, one thing just to consider is like we learn like when you go to art school and stuff like that, you learn that like there's a like of course a gravity to everything, right? So breast especially should be treated more naturally. However, if the character is to be like dressed, like fully dressed, like usually there's like a sort of bra element to their costuming, so you should actually consider like not a natural look, even though the character is looking pretty much nude, you know, in those rough poses.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good also a good example of just a rough pose using those basic shapes. Yeah, anyway, just to show you that this is the real deal.
Yeah.
Okay, so of course you have to sort of keep your reference on the side, so you sort of like always, you know, compare the placement, the angle, everything to what you have on the reference. So okay, so chest shape, then like a sort of underwear shape, like panties shape for the hips, and then a sort of T shape like this, I guess. So to define really the center of the torso and the abdomen. And something to keep in mind is that, okay, so you have your, like I guess the top part of the T here, that's the collarbone. And then you have sort of three segments here between the collarbone and the crotch. First one stops at the, like where the sternum would end, just right there,
Yeah.
at the solar plexus. That's for, you know, standing up, a character is standing up. The second segment, just really a 1-to-1 ratio of length, would end up like at the belly button. And then a little bit more than 1-to-1 is from the belly button to the crotch here. Let's call it 1.1 or something. It's, you know, it's not, it will change from character to another, but that's a basic ratio that my teacher gave me at the time. And so one thing to keep in mind also is that when you draw characters that are not standing up necessarily, maybe they're like leaning forward or twisting around or something, or leaning back. There's not much change of angle between these two lines. Like the torso cannot really bend right here, like, you know, up there. Our flexibility is all like in the lower part of the spine, right? So all this can do is really compress a little bit, like it can get shorter, this length here, as we lean forward, but there's not a huge change in angle with the sternum. This part just gets a little shorter. It's like the pivot will happen mostly like at the belly button or something. Then you draw the head. So there's, you know, many ways of simplifying a head. This is the one I grew accustomed to.
Yeah.
So for like the depth of the eyes depends on the physiognomy, like the ethnic background you're trying to depict. Some, you know, some people like male, female, there's a difference too between like the depth of the features. So this is very generic, of course. But what's important is this sort of like like to create a bit of depth there, just for
Mm.
the eyes to sit a little deeper, and you have a brow ridge that sits like a little more forward. And then it's important also to sort of create a sort of a V shape that
Mhm.
runs like from the side of the cheek and then like comes across the face and joins the sides of the chin. Of course, the chin can be smaller, thinner, and higher if it's the younger or the more graceful you want the character to be. And one thing to keep in mind also is, so from the side of the eyes and the side of the nose, you can sort of run lines to the side and of the head, and those will give you like the sort of placement and the size of the ears, basically.
Oh. Oh yeah, I never really
Like
thought about that. That's really interesting.
that's like if your character is like facing forward fully, like you might not really need this. Like you can eye it like pretty easily. But if there's a change in angle, then this is where you wanna like this comes in handy at this point, because you can sort of, given the angle, just like you angle your lines slightly differently, and then you still end up with something sort of reliable for where the ears would be.
Yeah. Well,
And again, just for yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say. I was just saying yeah, that's nice.
Mhm.
Like we've had, I can't remember which one of our many Alexes, I think, mentioned in the streams once about how important it was to like learn he called them the planes of the face, and I think that
Yeah.
it's kind of similar to what you're doing here, where you're learning. You need to get down uh, those flat planes of the face, and then you can work with it from there.
Mhm. Yeah. So this is obviously like a very like thorough way of drawing. Usually, when you're when you have a bit of reference, when you're kind of pressed by time, you'll sort of go for simpler shapes and a more streamlined approach. But like as far as I can like like be thorough about it. This is as thorough as I can be without being too like
Hmm.
convoluted and too complicated. Um, Always important also to have the median line. It just sort of helps you really situate the center of the face and you know um, arrange decorations or hairline properly.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so to sum up, chest and hips, then this sort of like median line here, then the head, and then that's where it's kind of fun is the joints actually. I don't draw like limbs just extending directly from those shapes. I'll
Hmm.
start with the with joints actually. So let's just draw them. Uh, Ball joints, very simply,
Yeah.
and sort of like looking like left and right. Just try to situate where the next one would be. A little smaller because it's the elbow, and then a little smaller here. And the funny part is like at least for me, like the hardest thing to really nail is the angle of the diagonal,
Yeah.
because everything vertical, or so I don't even know if it looks right or not. I could flip the canvas to sort of cheat or at least help myself, but I think it's kind of cool to try to just nail it the first
Hmm.
time. Uh,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Because you know the one time that you do nail it first time, it's gonna feel so good.
for sure. Uh, that,
It's
that big
almost like,
armor, I'm not even sure. Yep.
yeah, I was gonna say it's almost like you're making a little mannequin or like a little doll with the ball joints and everything. It's so easy to
Yeah,
repose.
yeah. Truly, yeah, you can go back and move things around for sure.
Mm.
Um, treacherous diagonal. I'm not sure where it ends. And then the ankle off screen somewhere. It's actually up like way off screen below, but I guess I'll just indicate it here just for the sake of presenting every form here.
He'll just have little legs. That's okay.
Stubby legs. Yeah, so that would be the next step. And after that, you just okay, let's clean this up. This is the joints. Magically transform it to beautiful, perfect circles, and then you just connect those joints.
Yeah.
So first, you do it with just the side, just going from one side, from the side of a circle to the next, and you can, of course, indicate a bit of curvature, a bit of, anatomical accuracy there. So that's the first part of doing those limbs here. Then the second part is to again like indicate the sort of middle of that form. Again, to help you understand like where, like the volume of it really. It's just a little anchor in the middle of the form to help you understand the angle at which you're viewing that thing. And then just connect the head to the torso and draw this. So this, like the way you connect, the aesthetics of like what a neck looks like, what a good neck looks like to you, like what a beautiful neck looks like to you, like that depends on the character, like your own sensibility. But for the sake of this exercise, like just keep it simple. It's just to get it done. And finally, you draw. Yeah, you want to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say. If anybody is wanting to do this exercise, then share it with us on Discord and in our study room channel. We'd love to see it. Recently, we've had people following along more with our streams, and it's very nice to see. So
awesome.
Yeah. We'll take a look.
For sure. Actually, there's a ton of like Mooncolony art you can even use because it's so wonderful.
Yeah. Oh yeah, true. Yeah. You just use Mooncolony references. That'll be perfect. Suhurin says, I never thought of doing these circles. I was too harsh with myself when learning. Yeah, just little ball joints.
Yeah, copy paste, Control J, just duplicate, Control J, and just like size up or down.
Yeah.
You can always make it harder for you if you're studying. It's always good to sort of like try to eye everything just for the sake of it. It's also possible, of course. Is it okay to use Mooncolony reference as long as I credit the artist? I'm not confident posting studies from other artists. Sure. Yeah, what do you think, Jayden?
I don't see why not. I mean, it's the right way to do it if you're going to do it. Credit the artist and credit us, and I don't see why that would be an issue.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if this exercise, like if you feature like the reference on one side and your stuff on the other side, like it's already pretty clear that it's a study.
Yeah, you're not claiming it as your own, so I think you're fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, as a fellow artist myself, I would be pretty flattered if anybody used my work, so. I'm sure it's also flattering to other artists.
Yeah.
And yeah, so finally you draw the hands and feet. If you're just going to do like a series of these, actually let me show you my practice folder from way back. If you're going to do a bunch of these, like you don't have to necessarily like draw every finger, like if you want to do like 5 or 6 in one day just to develop your overall sense of gesture drawing, like drawing every finger might not be necessary.
I was going to say, in the document you showed us earlier, they didn't even have hands. It was just stumps.
Yeah, exactly. Let me see my freelance period and some. Where is my practice here? Sorry, I should have prepared this before. This is my old practice
No,
folder from 2014.
wow. I'm surprised you still. I don't
Yeah.
think I have any documents from 2014.
You're much. I think you're at least you're 20, 25.
I'm 25. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah. You're 11 years younger than me, so
yeah.
you're not to
It's
blame for not having anything from back then.
this time. This time.
Yeah. So this is what like one of these study days looked like for me. This is actually from that PDF I was showing you earlier.
Oh, okay, cool.
Just so yeah, very rough stuff, but really trying to really define those basic shapes. Make sure I define them, make sure I anchor everything at least well enough that I understand like okay, where's the median line, where's the side of the limb, trying to really work out the curvature. Then I didn't like overly refine the line art. It's a bit superfluous. But yeah, just I would do a few of these. And it's really useful. I really cannot recommend it enough. Especially doing it from other people's art, it really stretches what you think is possible or proper, in terms of proportions. And it sort of massages your weaknesses, especially for me, like the distance between hips and torso, and at least the height of the hips. That's something I always sort of distorted in my head. The width of the shoulders also is something I always like. I make them too narrow for females, female characters. It sort of massages those sort of these ingrained distortions in your head. It sort of massages them out of your routine, of your reflexes.
I can see how it would help you with stylized work as well. I mean, we get people sometimes ask. We've had Leonie be asked a few times, like, oh, how do you get your work so stylized? I really struggle with it. It's like, well, this would be kind of perfect for that because you're studying the sort of elongated proportions of certain artwork, of certain characters and stuff like that. So
yeah, for sure.
mm.
And there's also this thing that like when you draw a figure, like you have a hard time projecting your like how cool the character is going to look like, because it looks too simple, looks off and weird. So it's kind of cool when you have a reference that's already looking great, and when you just draw, like for example, this sort of weird Superman looking guy, he looks pretty ugly, like in his wire figure form. And I was pretty reassured, like, okay, that's cool. Actually, there's potential into like ugly looking figures, or like it doesn't have to be depressing if the figure doesn't look awesome. Like it's maybe a matter of accessory, facial expressions, like that.
Yeah, it just shows that figure isn't everything.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
This Checkered Cat says, I've been mainly trying to study from poses, so fantasy proportions are very fun. Oh, nice. Real life poses, so fantasy proportions very fun. Yeah. And Marco says, good evening. Good evening, Marco. Nice to see you. Regular in Discord. Good evening, guys. Studying poses, is it more important to focus on proportions and credibility or on the line of action and dynamics?
Ooh, I don't think there's a choice there. I think you have to do both. Yeah, no, for sure. Well, that's something from like an old. Let me see if I still have it. Oh no, I don't. It's an old PDF of like a sort of like a Marvel, like drawing like Marvel or something. It's like a book from the 80s or maybe like around that time, so it's very dated. And it's like it sort of shows you how comic book artists draw their stuff, and the emphasis at the beginning is really dynamic lines. So it's more like it's not a matter of which one you have to do. It's where to do it, like at what time do you do it, and when you start a figure drawing, you should do these dynamic lines really like early on, just to sort of establish the overall impact, I guess, the overall physicality, the overall body language of the character using these big, broad, dynamic lines. And then once something is sort of gelling there together, once it looks like good enough in terms of like impact and dynamics, then you sort of like maybe lower the opacity of that layer and you start drawing like taking care of proportions and stuff like that. But drawing just those basic shapes without a kind of guiding trajectory, it's a bit risky.
Yeah.
And you might lose the importance of that dynamic. You might just focus more on the smaller stuff. Yeah, establishing the bigger picture is really important. But anyway, enough with my old folder practice stuff. Yeah, and let's go back to this. So yeah, so once this is done, it looks pretty much like this. And the fun part is, of course, the big reveal is to sort of like superimpose what you've done. And well, here I have to maybe scale it up because the not quite right, but yeah, okay. So here's
it's not far off.
Yeah. So another weakness I have is the length of the neck. My necks are way too like stubby, and so that's obviously something that's showing here. Yeah, diagonals are treacherous. They're like so hard to nail. Like there's always a slight, and the longer a limb is or the longer an accessory is, that angle is really hard to nail. Yeah, it does get better with practice though. Like the first one you'll do is going to be like, it's likely to be depressing, and in some ways there's always something that's like, yeah, actually, I got that right. But the second, third one, always better. Just takes a bit of a
the bends at the elbow and at the knee as well. I'm noticing.
Yep.
They're always a lot more dramatic than you think they are.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Like, yeah. So this is the sort of basic formula, which you can really apply to a variety of characters and proportions. And so, without further ado, let's actually try. So this is another one of my illustrations. I chose like a sort of jagged, weird, wonky gesture, full of diagonals. Let's see. All right. So I'll start. I'm using a soft round brush as a brush and as an eraser. Very gentle, very forgiving. That's
classic.
Yeah, the classic. So, sorry, what Marco? What was the last question in the chat?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Marco. Okay. Yeah. So about the idea of like line of action and dynamics. So let's start with that. So I'm trying to see. I'm trying to sense this sort of the spine first, the direction in which it's going. So something like this. There's a bit of a tilt for the hips. So. And as I'm drawing this, I'm trying to pay attention to the diagonals, but also to the sort of like elevation of, of everything. So for the hips, I'm trying not to go too low. I was tempted for a second to like extend that elevation line all the way to the reference to see, but I'm not gonna cheat. Like this is supposed to be like just freehanded, It's just more fun when it's freehanded. Okay, so there's a bit of tilt here at the hips. Then you have this diagonal here for the leg. Oh, it's already too flat. Something that's hard to deal with also is the distance between the sides of your canvas. Like if you're making it exactly the same dimensions as your reference, you'll notice right away some weird discrepancies. Like in your head, you're zooming out a little bit, or zooming in. Yeah. One thing in general about practice is that, like, there's a sweet spot between frustration, like between challenge and unbearable frustration, right?
Yeah.
And it's important to be in the right state of mind and to find the right exercise at a given time to be just that sweet spot,
Yeah.
Yeah. and those exercises can seem tedious and weird, and you know, and we usually avoid them. We know we should do them, but we avoid them because we don't want to face, like, you know, just having a hard time really. But if we can sort of treat it, like approach it with some humor, do it with friends, do it with like a mentor, or within a community, or all of the above together, that can sort of sweeten the approach of it. Okay, that's so that limb here, that leg is overall pretty vertical, but there's a, you know, kind of a bend there to it. So from here to here, it's pretty vertical, but there's kind of a bend. Okay, here's where the ugliness begins. It's because there's this sort of cowl under, like, over his upper chest, so it's kind of hard to see. I'm already pretty frustrated because I know my shoulder, this shoulder here, is way further to the right than the one on the reference. I don't know what's right. I don't know where I went wrong. It's already wrong. Okay, let's put it here. So a little marker here. The other one's going to be here.
It's Chicken Man is like, if the exercise hurts, it means it's working. Yeah. Draw while crying. Yeah, you know, yeah, if it works. Whatever works.
Yeah. Okay. Something like this. All right. So I'll leave it at that for now, and I'll lower the opacity. And now we're going to start those big shapes. Start with the chest. Hey, I know you, Sir Pine. Yes. Yes. How are you? How have you been? Well, maybe we should catch up another. But yeah, I've known you for, of course. It's fun to see friends sort of gather. You know, long time no see for sure.
We get that with Antoine as well. We'll be streaming, and I'll say someone's name, and he'll go, "Oh yeah, I know them." have a little catch up halfway through the stream.
Yeah,
it's nice.
Yeah, it's a small world.
It really is. Yeah.
It's crazy how years can go by. Like, I mean, you know, I can feel it much more than maybe you can feel it already. I don't know. At 25, I don't know if, you know, but for me, it's like, wow, I haven't talked to somebody in like maybe 7 years, you know, like,
yeah.
Or even like my closest friends, like since I've had a kid, like some friends I haven't talked to like for 2 years because my kid is just 2 years old. So for 2 years, I've just been like working, changing diapers, doing this, you know, like work, like, and then you're like, oh yeah, I haven't touched base with some people for a long time.
Yeah,
feeling
I'm
horrible.
exactly like that. I'm terrible when it comes to messaging people, or like catching up with them. I'm just so bad at it. Like, there's some of my best friends from when I was in high school I haven't spoken to in years, or you know, you always do that thing where you're like, oh, we'll have to catch up soon, and then it just never happens.
Yeah, we'll grab a beer. By the time you do, you like one of you had no hair anymore. It's just like bald and paunchy.
Yeah, that's gonna be me. I can feel it already. That's gonna be me.
All right, so yeah, right, yeah, for sure, Serpine. That was about a year or two ago. Not that bad. Yeah. So all right. So what I was doing here is like drawing the overall shape of this thing, of the chest, and right here I'm gonna try to understand like where this side of the chest begins. Right there, and I'm going to adjust that other side to make sure like both sides, like on each side of the medium here, the median line, are of the same length here.
They're gonna be surprised when they see you 2 years later with a wizard beard, Jayden. Yeah. You know, I keep I keep telling myself that I'm gonna cut this down, but every time I just never get around to it. It's not good.
Yeah, it's pretty big too, by the way. I don't think I've ever had a beard that, you know, that
Yeah,
fluffy.
yeah, it is. And I was speaking to my family at Christmas, and I saw my sister-in-law, and she was like, "Oh, if I'd have known your beard was that big, I would have got you uh some like beard shampoo and stuff." And I was like,
Mm.
Yeah, I was like, the funny thing is that I'm not planning. I never planned on it getting this big. It's just out of pure laziness that not. It's not happened.
Laziness happens when you can tell when you have like when it's on the side that it's big. You know that
Oh yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's laziness.
I've
When you have
been
at least
there.
a decency of trimming it, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's at least a degree of civilization when you can sort of trim it on the
yeah.
sides.
Exactly. I don't look like I've been stuck on an island for like 3 years. But people were saying in the voice chat yesterday, they were like, "Have we seen Jayden clean shaven?" And I was like, "Yes." When I've like first started, it's not
Mm,
it's not a good look. I don't think I'll ever go back to clean shaven, but um,
right.
I'm I'm definitely gonna trim this beard down. I think last time I trimmed it, I saw Emra, and
Mm,
he was like, it's funny.
all right, so medium line here is a little tricky. Well, I need to read exactly where because I can see it's like here, like there's this sort of like weird like rope zipper in the middle of his
Yeah,
brush there. Uh, so his hip might extend over here. Yeah. Yeah, one thing to keep in mind also I didn't say it earlier is like the of obviously like when you think about it, it happens, but like the hips and chest can sort of rotate from each other pretty
mm,
pretty dramatically, like almost like pretty much 90 degrees. So
yeah,
there's more flexibility than we might um, think of right away.
mm,
Um, all right. Like as you build those shapes, it's important to keep in mind like if you have something like this that seems okay, like you know well proportioned enough, right away sort of go on the other side and try to nail
yeah.
like the sort of symmetry of it and see if it works, and then adjust, and keep noodling around until it looks right.
Hmm.
But it's important to noodle with like basic landmarks in mind, like just those side lines here for the where the hip bones would be pretty much, and median line here, and that overall just like shape of underwear of tidy whities. And just referring like sort of looking at the way the costume curves, I can understand that maybe the panties sort of curve like this. So first, as an exercise, it's obviously like observational, but
Mm,
after just already 10 of these, like if you like do these like for a week, if you do a few every day, a week from when you started, you'll already be like pretty autonomous at drawing figures. Like it's a matter of sort of keeping it to the mid and long term because you can lose that sort of uh, spontaneity of doing things.
yeah.
And there's sort of like mind muscle memory that builds up pretty steadily during a week, but then you sort of need to regularly just try it again just to keep those skills sharp and your sort of sensitivity sharp about it.
I was gonna say, my just from looking at this, I can tell how out my eyes are. Yeah, like I'm not.
Really?
Yeah,
You mean like you're trying to anticipate where the next thing would be, and it's not where you
yeah,
sort of imagine it?
yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm not even sure if it's my stuff is right. I'm just sort of like winging it, you know.
Well,
So
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
at the end, we'll do the reveal. We'll just superimpose what I did, and
superimpose it
we'll
over.
all have a
Yeah,
laugh. Okay, so there's a big, huge knee here. So that's due to foreshortening.
hmm
It's a little weird, you know. It's obviously a little bit exaggerated and you know, not realistic.
yeah. I was gonna say this pose makes it more difficult because it's so uh, dramatic. It's
Mm,
a lot of dramatic poses.
yeah.
Like that leg is right the way back.
Yeah, it's really wonky. Uh, but hey, you know, it got approved, so I didn't complain. I just went with it. But
Yeah.
now it's kind of a pain in the ass to redraw.
I was gonna say when you're using yourself as a reference, if you found that you've looked at your work and gone, what are you like? What are you doing? Like, you look back at your stuff like 5 years ago, and you're like, how?
Yeah, yeah. GI Jane here doesn't look so like it's the stiffest thing I've ever drawn. Like I hope now, and the torso is way too long. It's weird. It's kind of all over the place. It looks like a cheap, you know, 1980s like action figure already.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's just and at the time, like I used a like a pretty. I remember I bought a what did I think I bought a like the head of a doll like from a shop, you know, like those sort of like six
Oh, yeah, yeah,
like 1/6, you know, action figures. So it's just like the head of like a female, like a you know, average like a random female figure. And so I posed it, took a picture of it. I was not like daring to venture into 3D yet, so this is all like you know like dare to do.
yeah,
And then I looked forever for reference that like had this sort of mouth shape there. But because this is all like realistic, or at least sort of you know realistic, that head looks way too like not stylized at all. It's just
yeah.
it's kind of average fantasy, and I'm definitely not the Hearthstone style. Um, yeah, so yeah, for sure. I look back and it's uh, yeah, things age for sure.
I suppose it's nice though because at least you can pick up on them. Like you can pick up on stuff like that. You know, it shows that uh, it shows that you've improved or at least become a bit more self-aware. I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. Like there's this French artist like I was following like maybe 15 years ago, like way before, like even before studying in China or whatever. Like his nickname was Black Frog or something. I forgot, but he's this like he's then become like some like working with in movies and stuff in America. Like he was a pretty big deal in France, like way back in the day. And he said like one of these things that stuck with me is like if you're really proud and happy with your if you see nothing wrong with your work, like after a week, it means something's wrong either with you, like something's wrong,
Yeah.
like either you're a genius, you've transcended, like you've become like real awesome, or you truly need like friends, or you know something's off. Like you should really check yourself.
Yeah. I was gonna say
Uh,
there's been a few times when we've done like portfolio reviews where you know people have stuff on their portfolio from like 6 years ago or something, and it's like,
mm,
you know, are you happy with this? If you are, then you know maybe take another look at it and really think about it and analyze it. Um,
yeah. Then there's, I mean, of course, like we can in an age nowadays where a lot of people study by themselves, and there's like you know like not to be too serious about it, but like there's definitely some strain on mental health of
oh yeah,
everybody.
yeah,
There's also like a need to be like to just find that sweet spot, you know, like be
hmm
happy, like find things to be like proud of, like to be genuinely like okay, like this is definitely like a good thing to keep, like it's better than before, you know, ways of just looking at what you're doing.
oh yeah,
You know, you don't need to be too uh, critical, self-critical, because that can really spiral and make you like non-productive for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. Give yourself credit for the good things you do, for sure.
Yeah. And find friends and mentors who will do that also, who will sort of
Yeah,
reinforce the good stuff, you know.
yeah, yeah. You don't want someone who's just gonna beat you down for no reason.
Mm. Okay, let's go. There's a here, and then there's the wrist just over the knee right there, I guess. And finally the ankle here. So I'm trying to get you. Okay, you see there's like, yeah, I guess it's the ankle here and then the other one there. It's just like sort of a sideways. There's no big diagonal change, I feel. Bit hard to gauge because there's a change in scale, so
Yeah.
okay. And of course, let's not forget the head.
And it's even harder to get the right neck size. There's no visible
Yeah.
motion. Lisa says, "Hi there, happy studying." Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Feel free to join us if you like. Jacob Cat says, "Oh no, if I hung my own art in my room, it would be actual torture to look at every day." No, 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 no.
Yeah. Yeah. It's although I don't know, like I have a certain tenderness like for my early drawings. Like when I was 15, like 14, 15 was like just full of, you know, angst and like all these cool ideas of like junior high school where like I was gonna show the world like what truly taste is like, you know, and meanwhile it's all derivative of like Princess Mononoke or Spirited Away. It's like basically these two movies, you know.
Yeah.
It's like just a wolf princess, but like, you know, with a mask or something. You know, it's kind of cool to keep those.
Yeah, it's nice. No one understands. No one understands real art apart from me.
Yeah. Like I thought the epitome of like cool noir taste was Cowboy Bebop, which is of course like a great move. Like you know, it's great anime.
Yeah,
It's like still one of my favorite. But it's in itself, it references a lot of cool films from back in the day. You know, like Casablanca
yeah,
or whatever. Like you know, Bruce Lee movies, all that stuff. And I was completely ignorant. To me, that was it. You know, that was just it. You know.
yeah. It's so funny when um, oh man, I had something come into my head just a second ago. It was a very similar. It was a very similar experience where I was like, "Oh, this thing is like the best," but it being the best was just because it was referencing a lot of other like classic
Yeah,
movies and stuff. It was a very similar situation.
for sure. All right, so I was pretty much done with this sort of joint phase here.
Mhm.
So now I'm gonna connect those joints to do the limbs. A bit. I sense there's a bit of like curviness there to the outside of the forearm, so I'm just gonna add it here. It's good to be familiar with the main muscle groups, you know, to just like if you're muscular enough. It's not really my case, but like you can sort of sense in the where like there's some stuff like I'm not gonna well maybe I'm gonna just run you through the ones I understand, the ones I think I understand at least. So like there's one here, like okay, so this is the forearm here, and then there's this sort of like overlapping, like forearm muscle here that sort of ends at the crease of the elbow, the crook of the elbow. And it sort of connects here to the like close to the elbow itself. Not necessarily to do it like super precisely here or in a very sophisticated way. It's just there's a bit of a bump here. That's all.
Oh, just quickly. Thank you, Suzanne Helmig, Helmi. I feel so bad. But thank you so much for the raid with 46 people. Hello everybody. Welcome, welcome.
Hey, welcome.
Um, we are doing some studies today. Uh, yeah, you said it right. Oh, brilliant! Thank you so much. Um, we're getting Arthur to do some studies today for us. He's one of our lovely art directors here at Mooncolony. If you don't know who we are a premium concept art and illustration studio for the games industry predominantly. We've worked a lot with Blizzard, who are probably our biggest client right now. Let's see what you're saying. It's fun to see you guys stream. I think I actually applied to some jobs at your studio today. Oh, incredible! Oh, good luck. Best of luck.
Yep.
Hello, Runes PSD. Nice to see you. Here I was hoping you might say Hellmite. I mean, that would be a pretty cool last name, honestly. If I could have that, I would. But no, welcome everyone. I hope you had a great stream. Lisa, yeah, that's fun. I had both streamed opened and now everybody's here. What a coincidence. But no, welcome.
Nice.
If you fancy joining us, then please do. We've got a lot of things made.
Sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah. Nice. Nice to see so many people. Yeah.
I was going to say, Suzanne, if you have any, if you have like a portfolio that you want to share in the chat, then by all means throw a link down or an Instagram or whatever.
Oh, for sure. I'd
love to see it, but I'll give you a shout out.
Your name like rings a bell. Like I'm sure we've talked before, or someone pointed your art to me or something. It rings a bell. Anyway, I'm sorry if I'm not remembering exactly, but I'll check your portfolio for sure. Actually, let me just take a break for a second.
Yeah.
And okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Where did I see? Yeah, it's amazing. Wow.
If she doesn't get the job, we'll all raid the studio. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying you should, but
it'll be understandable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you have some really lovely work, Suzanne. That Grim Hollow stuff is really nice.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So here, as you can see, I'm so connecting those sort of ball joints with those big muscle groups. So usually there's like you can make at least one, like two shapes per limb, right? So like for example, the thigh here, you can make it like just a cylinder, like a sort of sausage like this. But you can also connect the hip bone to the underneath the knee here. I think it's called the sartorius muscle.
Oh.
It's a sort of sartorius, I believe, means a tailor, like in Latin. It means like a tailor. And I think the name comes from the muscle looking like a ribbon, like a tailor's ribbon. Like it's just some sort of muscle that wraps around. And it's a nice sort of landmark for the gesture because it sort of connects to the hip and sort of goes like sort of draws a curve around the thigh. It's a nice indicator of volume here. Oh, yeah, that's just a character from it's a tomb lurker from Hearthstone, and I guess by extension from World of Warcraft. That's the character that's from. Okay, so one, this sort of muscle here. There was this muscle here we talked about before. this one here that sort of creates a little bump on the inside of the forearm. And of course there's the deltoid here. So it's sort of, you can simply just start from the top of the ball joint and just sort of go down like this. Then it curves around the lower part of the ball joint and then connects to the chest, where it becomes the essentially the pectoral.
No, enjoy the dog walk, Suzanne. Thank you so much again for the raid. It's lovely to see.
For sure. Thank you for coming.
I've also put a link in the chat to the wiki page for the Tomb Lurker card, so everyone can appreciate your wonderful artwork on the card.
And in general, there's more like from one joint to the other, there's more curviness than what we could anticipate. It's just a matter of like trying around, you know, like either from reference or from just from experimenting what looks good, you know. But doing that exercise, you'll be surprised what's possible and what can look good, as opposed to your first choice, you know, by default. So that's what I meant earlier by this exercise being able to sort of stretch your understanding of proportions.
Suhiran asks, do you have an anatomy book that you can recommend?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do.
Whoa.
This one, Vern Hogarth's Dynamic Figure Drawing. It's dated, it's old, but it's very exaggerated and like it really sort of forces you to really acknowledge muscle groups, and he's a truly like independent artist. Like he's truly independent from reference. Like he can truly draw anything. So it looks a little weird. The style is, of course, it's not stylized, but it's very academic in its own way. But it's still a very it's a monolith. Like it's a monument of as a reference for artists. This book, yeah, cannot recommend it enough. Sorry, so let me just maybe Burn, Burne, Hogarth, just so you guys can take a good look. Dynamic Figure Drawing. I'm pretty sure it's from the 70s, maybe, or even earlier. But it's one of those references that have stood the test of time.
Yeah. One, oh man, I think they've just done loads of reprints. I'm looking on like different stores, and there's like 1984, 1992. Just goes to show how useful it is.
Yeah, it's been sort of that's true. It's been sort of corrected by the author himself, like as he progressed.
Emra said it's a classic, such a good book. I agree with you, Arthur.
And that's all the approval I need.
Oh yeah. Messiah says Burns' hand drawings scare me.
True. It's like there's a weird like flayed aspect to his characters. You know, they look like they're just missing about an inch of skin. It's kind of scary. But yeah, it does really force your appreciation, your understanding of like anatomy. All right, so then.
Nice, because it's relatively cheap as well. It's not like it's so rare that you're going to be spending like $50 on it or anything. I'm seeing it for like 15 to 20.
Yeah, for sure. One thing also to keep in mind is this. I'll remove what I just did. Is this area of the knee here, like the structure of the knee. So if you do your like sort of basic cylinder for the thigh, like you have the knee is pretty much made up of like the femur. It's like two halves plus the kneecap in the middle. And the femur, it's important to place it like somewhere here, like kind of in the middle, of the overall, the overall form of the thigh. And then you have like where the tibia begins here, the sort of lower half of the joint. And then the bone goes like that. But yeah, it's also a good thing to analyze is the way the joint works, like for the knees. That and the feet are something that we rarely, dive into too deep, because usually those are, for the most part, like covered by costuming or shoes, all that stuff. So it's something we sort of delay in our understanding, but it's really worth a nice afternoon of studying, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the feet, I usually do some like a vague, like sort of break for the, like a sort of break that narrows towards the ankle, so it's narrower to the ankle, and it sort of flares towards the toes. It sort of slopes down as well, like it starts high at the ankle and then sort of goes down like this. And then I'll do, just for the sake of that exercise, like if it's just a quick sort of mock-up, I'll do sort of a sort of toe box.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's like a little rotated cube.
Yeah, like it's really whatever you feel like doing. It can be rounded, can be a pointy. The point can sort of change wherever you want it.
Mm-hmm.
And the heel is its own thing. It's sort of like it extends a bit to the side, of course, a bit to this like this, and sort of tucks under that sort of brick there that I drew before. It's not really one thing. It's like you have the sort of the brick, like the body of the foot, then the toes, and then on the side there's like the heel doing it, something like sort of projecting behind. As you can see it here. We'll do it on that side. Like this sort of sloping brick form that extends down from the ankle, and then on this, like the heel sort of doing the same thing in the back. Also sort of, sloping down. That's the sort of efficient way I got used to drawing for the feet, but there might be, I'm sure Bern Hogarth like might do something more, I don't know, maybe more sophisticated, maybe simpler, I don't know. But from what I remember, this is just like that's how you can break down the foot in as few shapes as possible, I feel.
Yeah. Do you find that's really what one of the aims is to break everything down into more digestible shapes?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like break them down, but into like as into shapes that are as synthetic as possible, like that really synthesize everything and sum up everything as much as possible. So it's based on mostly like joints. So like the toe box is its own thing because it sort of pivots, from the body of the foot. For the heel, of course, it's not articulated, but it's really something that we have to get used to, because like a lot of artists, myself included, before I really paid attention to that, we have a tendency to sort of like make the heel a little too, in the continuity of the leg, and then sort of extend the foot a little too much like this. Whereas you really need that sort of back thing here. Maybe, that's too much, but something like this, And so treating it as its own thing is kind of a good way to make sure you pay attention to that.
And it's surprising how much of a difference it makes as well. Just that little bump on the back can change, like
Yeah.
really really affects how it looks.
Mm.
Spear said
It,
they've downloaded the anatomy book from
okay.
Zlib. Nice.
All right. Thanks for the tip. Yeah.
Just wait, is it just
For some
free
reason,
on there?
yeah. That sounds like a free thing. Zlib. I don't know. It sounds
It
piratey.
does, it does sound
You
pirate,
know, it might not be. Maybe I'm besmirching the effort of
Zlib, yeah.
Swearing. Swearing.
It's for the poor people. Oh, okay, okay. I won't judge you. It's all right.
It's for the smart people. Let's put it that way, right?
It's for the smart people. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've sailed the
Okay.
7 seas in my 25 years on this planet. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so for the hands, let me show you as well a couple of tricks. Let me see if I have any meeting coming up. Something was delayed. Okay, so I have nothing until 5:30. So
Nice.
I mean, not that this has to last until 5. I don't know how you want to manage your time, of course, but I'm not pressed by time.
I
And
can
I
go.
think
I can go until 4. And then I have to.
okay.
I have to run and do something. But
Okay, and I see I have no notification from like no task that needs my attention right now, so I can. Okay. No
nice.
obligation apart from this. That's great.
That's
Okay.
nice. I feel like
So
every other time I've like cut you right down to the wire in terms of timing.
yeah. Yep. That's good though. All right. So let me maybe lower the opacity of the joint so I can see really what I'm doing with the hand. So for the hands, it's really similar, like a big, like sort of a trapeze shaped, like kind of a squeezed shape for the palm.
Mm-hmm.
With a sort of rectangular section. You can curve it, it's pretty realistic to give it this curve. I think it's from Bern Hogarth that I learned that sort of, feature
Yeah.
to curve that thing. And then to the side you'll have, well, first of all, I'm noticing something. I think my hand is way too, like, first of all, it's small, and I think it's too much to the side. It should already be like almost overlapping. Something like this.
Yeah.
Hard to tell. We'll see. We'll laugh at the end. When I superimpose
well,
this into the
I can
model.
tell you now, I won't be laughing because I know that I couldn't do it any better. So.
Well, it's at least that's a great equalizer that exercise, because no matter how advanced you are in your practice or how advanced you think you are, there's always a ton of surprises. There's just plenty to check your ego, no matter where you think you are.
Yeah,
So
it's a humbling experience.
for sure. Okay. All right, checkered cat. I'll like to see that later for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. We'll all laugh at each other's. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so then, so under that palm shape, there would be the like what amounts in shape to like a chicken thigh for the thumb. So like a big sort of thing here, and then like a first joint for the thumb, and then a second one. then it's important to be able to divide that rectangle into, like, to really define where your fingers are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to wing it like this because it looks like a weird fan. It's just it can easily get out of control how you arrange the fingers. So first of all, like reestablishing, defining where the root of each finger is pretty useful.
Yeah.
It's always a squeezing contest, like that thing. It's always like it's pretty laborious every time.
Yeah. But then you look at our own hands and they don't feel like they're that cramped,
Yeah. Yes, for sure. Yeah. One of the big mysteries of life.
Yeah. Pavichuros asks, is the original art from Warcraft or Hearthstone? It's technically from Hearthstone, but if you want to get down to it, the character is a Warcraft character. I put the link to the card in the chat earlier, but I'll do it again, just because it's neat. I'll also say we are 14 followers away from our next follower goal, which is amazing. So thank you everybody who's followed so far. But if you haven't followed already, then why not? You can get notified when we go live. You get a little notification come through. It shows us that you're interested in the content that we're making.
Exactly.
So if you're enjoying the stream, you'd like to see more, then give us a cheeky follow.
Yeah. And thank you if you have already.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so his fingers are weird. Like there's just one, like, so there's the joint where it connects to the hand, to the palm, and then I think it's just one like little joint in the middle. The way I did it.
I was going to say, looking at his other hand, it has like another bend in it.
Ooh. Yeah, it's actually a normal looking hand, so I should really squeeze another ball joint somewhere else. So essentially, like the basic shapes for the hand, if I sum them up, are this kind of squeezed brick, square brick here, then ball joints. Yeah, two more, and then just like we did with the other, like connecting ball joints together.
Yeah.
The knuckles. That's pretty much it. One thing to keep in mind if you're gonna do nails is okay. I need to actually do this better. You know what? Let me actually open something I did a while ago. It's even better. Where is it? Sorry, it's going to take me a second to find it, but I think it's worth.
While you're looking.
Sorry, I should have prepared better.
That's okay. I can see that Crafts in the Discord has shared their study with us. It looks like you did a pretty good job. Yeah, a couple of changes, but that's not bad for your first go. That's impressive. They said they're going to do another one. So.
Okay.
So it's in the study room. I can send it to you in the DM if you.
Okay, I can see it.
You can do it.
Let me actually scroll down. Oh, okay. Very cool. Oh wow. I like, the diagonals are pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, I see the legs. Yeah, hard because the legs are long, right? So whatever problem, like whatever inaccuracy you have with the angle, it just compounds itself. Like the longer the limb is, the more discrepancy you're gonna have with the original angle. But yeah, for a first shot, it's really good.
Yeah,
for sure.
That head as well, where it's a lot more like hunched in. like scrunched into the
Yeah,
torso than
yeah,
you'd think it is. But
yeah. That's cool.
really nice job.
Very nice. Yep, for sharing. Okay, and so I have the thing I wanted to show you guys.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I just wanted to show you something. So it's the importance also of that median line when you draw hands, because that sort of indicates to you like the center of the fingernails. So claws, fingernails, whatever is going to be at the end, like, because it's easy to sort of misinterpret um, like positions of nails or whatever, just sort of wing it.
Yeah.
So having the median line really helps, because all you have to do then is sort of draw symmetrically, and it's easier to make it all make sense. Another little interesting connecting feature is this sort of these sort of tendons that run over our fingers. Those create little bumps and even little ridges, like on the side. They just have it's a nice little detail to add on top of it. So it's basically 4 basic shapes, right? This sort of break here for the hand, and cylinders, ball joints, and this sort of band, like almost like an elastic band that sort of runs from the wrist to and they're very visible on the knuckles, especially big knuckles. Okay, so that's better. Yeah.
I just thought in the chat, Hearing goes, I just looked at Bern Hogarth's hands, and they remind him of they remind me of handsome Squidward. I don't know if I don't know if that is a reference for you, but I know what they're referring to, but I can't see it myself.
And some sort of, so is he? I don't know. Is it when he like looks more human? I guess.
Yeah. Handsome Squidward is the one where he's like looking more human, yeah. But it's I don't know, man.
It's a stretch.
Yeah, that is a reference that flew over my head. Oh, you downloaded his book on hands? Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'll have
Nice.
maybe if I had the book, maybe I would know. Um, are you using a screened or non-screened tablet? Because the lines look so accurate.
It's no, it's my old Wacom Pro from way back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been able to paint with like a like a screen tablet. I've tried, and I don't know if my hands are too. I just got used to, and for the posture, I also prefer it. I just prefer to like stare straight on my screen and just paint. It's something I got used to. Like my little pencil bird neck just gets way too tired if I if I have to look down.
Yeah, I feel that.
I have to look down.
You have to go see a chiropractor like 3 times a week. But no, there's quite a few. I think there's quite a few artists that work at Mooncolony that use like an ordinary tablet, like not a screen tablet.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much for the posture check, Checkered Cat. That was very timely. Thank you so much. I'm already sat up fairly straight, although I am sat cross-legged on my chair, so that probably doesn't help. But there we go.
Yeah. For me, I've like this sort of chair on wheels, like on little rollers, and I'm sort of like my feet are way too up, like a little gargoyle. Like I'm just sort of like perched on top of the wheels, and it's no good. Straighten up as well.
Yeah. I sit in some really strange positions. It's hard for me when I'm doing these streams because I have to I have to try and sit like a normal person.
Yeah. Okay.
What the hell? I don't think I can draw so clean on my tablet. I think I'd give it time. It's something you get used to.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. It's not even like something you need to practice, especially. It's just I think I've been drawing with the tablet since I'm 19, so I'm 36. That's 7 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's experience in that. But,
Yeah.
and if you're the kind of artist that likes doing line art, or at least like some sort of line-based sketching instead of blocking in shapes, you'll naturally develop that skill for sure.
Mm.
Not that one is better than the other. I find a strength in both. Like it's definitely useful to be able to do line art, especially when you want to clearly show something to your client. Like because blocking shapes, it's you're sort of working everything together at once, like the design, the lighting, the perspective, everything, with just like black and white, big brush strokes. It's very it's both are good, but design wise, I prefer doing like line art because it's just more accurate, more also how to say purposeful. Like there's a
Mm.
way of showing that you're purposeful in your design. There's no vagary, no. Um, but for compositions, yeah, I can show you some stuff I did, like some sort of practice I did, like again, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, not that. Practice. I like doing silhouettes. They're
Oh,
very cool,
nice.
very evocative. You can sort of project a bunch of stuff in it. It's always harder to design within the silhouette. Once you have a very cool silhouette, trying to make it look, you know, uh, put within it's always harder. But it's nice. It's nice to sort of develop that sense of overall impact.
Yeah.
Um, line art, sketching, even little doodles. It's always cool.
Oh,
Uh,
very nice.
and where did I put these? Oh yeah, just like so that there's a strength in that too. I feel like for composition, like doing black and white, impactful overall scenes, things that you can again project your imagination into, that you can
Mm.
think, oh, that could be a cool whatever. Um, that's really useful for like one thing that's useful is to do like studies of like quick black and white mock-ups of screenshots from movies.
Yeah.
You keep them vague, and you keep them in a folder, and later you can use them as a springboard for a personal composition, something with your own design in it. It's really cool.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, so that was just to show you that there's a strength in like for sure blocking in shapes, but design wise, I prefer like line drawing. Anyway, enough of that.
They're so nice. They're such nice sketches.
Oh, so,
Too humble. You're
yeah,
too
when I
humble.
was it's never good enough, right? Like
Yeah.
when you're and it's never as good as what you want it to be, right? In
Mhm.
hindsight, it's not too bad because it sits there just for itself, so you can find them good enough. But when you have this grandiose, world building,
Yeah.
ambition and that's really all you can produce in an afternoon. It's just this bust of a dude with a beard. It's like, no man, I, I thought I was gonna be the next, like just uh yeah, I was gonna develop the next Avatar or something, and no, or the next, Elder Scroll or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
Man, yeah, I've been there. There was a time when uh, me and a lot of my friends were playing D&D, playing Dungeons and Dragons, and
Mm,
I was like, oh, I wanna come up with my own like setting, my own like campaign setting, and I sat down to write it, and it was awful. It was so bad. It was terrible. Like about halfway through, I was like, none of this makes any sense. I had all these ideas like flying through my head, but
mm,
like none of the skill to actually um
oh,
get it down on paper, and it was
mm,
um yeah, it was just funny. Like looking back, I was like, that was way too ambitious.
yeah, for sure. It's we all go through that. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I think it's good to be too ambitious, though.
Oh
It's
yeah,
nice, you know. You always sort
yeah,
of land somewhere nicer, and you can always build up your ambition again, your motivation, and with
yeah,
this, in the meantime, you sort of develop your skills. So you're like, hey, let's give it another try. You know,
yeah,
we'll fail, but a little further down the line, you know.
yeah.
One thing I'm still horrible at is like I've read books and stuff. Like I mean, some books and tried and failed, and so I didn't do it for again. But like it's storytelling, like actually developing a story, like being good at it. You know, like a compelling, good story
Yeah,
without falling into tropes of because there's the hero's journey, like the
yeah.
Joseph Campbell's like mm, I guess archetypes and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So it's a good crutch or at least a good framework to work from, but um, not being immediately bland and derivative and lost in the weeds. That's something I just for the life of me I just can't do. So in
Yeah.
the next life, I guess, or at least I would need to have made so much money drawing that I could just take a whole like 5 years off and just like
Oh,
be my
imagine.
own David Lynch, you know, like just
Yeah.
grow my hair all crazy and weird and just not care about anything and just, you know, like
Yeah, that's the dream. That's the dream.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
my dream is to just like go live in like a cabin in the woods somewhere and just
mm,
just not
yeah.
do anything.
Yeah, Jack. I was watching a video of I don't know if you know On the Road. It's like a classic American book, of the Beat generation, so from the '60s or something.
Yeah.
It's by Jack. Yeah, it's by Jack Kerouac, who is like this crazy dude who defined 20th century American literature pretty much. Um, and he did that. Like he went like in a cabin in the woods. Like he worked as a sort of forest guard or something, like some
Oh
sort of
yeah.
dude like in charge of like looking out for forest fires in this big national park. And yeah, he did that like for like I think 3 months or something. Uh, that sounds like a dream to me.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, just to come up with something original and from your own head and everything.
Mm. When when I was at university, they uh we had someone come round. So I don't know if I've mentioned to you before, but I did a degree in computer games design, and
Mm.
we had people come round and talk to us about these things that they called incubators, and it was
Okay.
essentially, I mean, the one that was the most interesting was where you would go over to I can't remember where it was, some like Scandinavian country, and they had a bunch of
Mm.
cabins in the woods, and they would just say, "Okay, here you go. Have like 3 months of just coming up with ideas and like iterating on them and stuff." And we were
Oh
like,
my
"That
god.
sounds amazing." You know,
Yeah.
like, um, I mean, they bring you like everything you would need. They bring you food and stuff, and
Oh,
like, yeah, you're just given like
that's
three
awesome.
months in the woods to just be creative and come up with ideas, um, and then
Oh,
develop them slightly and stuff. Yeah, it sounded really cool. I mean, we couldn't afford it because we were students, but yeah, it sounded amazing.
yeah. Yeah, that sounds amazing. Sounds like a great like setup for a horror movie as well.
Oh
Like
yeah. Oh yeah.
the like yeah, the ingenuous like young artist who just just wants to get it together and finally come up with this great masterpiece. And well, his parents are like, yeah, go for it, this is great, like saying bye bye to everybody, and just you end up in Scandinavia like yeah, it's some
Alone
weird
in the
cult,
woods. Yeah.
like it's all a ploy to feed fresh, young flesh to some weird cult or something, some hunting,
There you go. There's your
yeah.
story that you've been waiting to write.
Copyright, copyright.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it is cool.
Well,
Um,
guess it's public domain now. Damn
yeah.
it.
Damn it. Done. Well, get it down quick after this. Get
Yeah.
it down quick. You
You
say
know
you
what?
haven't got anything until 5:30.
You know
You're
what?
fine.
I gotta go. I totally forgot. I got this crazy meeting. I'm sorry. Gotta go. And the title is like The Incubator, of course.
Yeah, that's it. You know, that's not a
And
bad title. That's pretty good.
yeah, that's. Damn, I should have shut my mouth. Anyway, I'm kidding. It's well, everything is a great idea until you actually start like, okay, what's his name? It's John Cube or so, and right away the
Yeah.
lameness begins, and so yeah, it's all yours. If anybody can make a good story out of it, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Credit goes to you. All right.
Papi Churro said this drawing is on a second layer, right? There is more loose drawing underneath.
Oh yeah. So yeah, let me just walk you through like the basics. So first I did this weird like sort of gestury thing. Then the sort of blocking in the shapes for the chest, the torso, and the hips.
Mm-hmm.
So making sure that there's like this sort of central line here and also lines to the side to help me, understand the angle of view of the character. And then ball joints. So I removed the thing here. And ball joints here. Mm-hmm. And then like the sort of connecting, drawing on top of everything. So I guess I'll merge the ball joints with the drawing wherever it's useful. Just erasing it where it's not. Here it can go.
That's nice and easy.
Yeah. Okay, then we'll just merge this with this. Okay, and we'll take it from there. Mm-hmm. Sartorius muscle as well, this sort of line here that starts from the hip and then sort of rolls around and down under the, like in the crook of the knee, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, actually, like these are the head of the, like the femur, and the sartorius would sort of like connect underneath the femur.
Yeah. It's cool. I never knew we had a muscle there, or that like stretched around and under.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and another thing I was not, I sort of did without really commenting on is, before there was just this, I had done like the shoulders and the torso here. So the rib cage is its own thing, but I gotta be careful to add like this sort of latissimus dorsi, I think it's called. It's this, the wings, essentially, like this sort of back muscle that we can see from below our armpit. Yeah. So it would just sort of extend like this. I learned like a while ago, maybe it was when I was a student, I forgot exactly when, but there's this this line here. So it goes, maybe it's from Bern Hogarth's book, I'm not sure, but there's this sort of like, what's it called? I know it in French, but I forgot the Latin / English name. But there's this sort of like muscle like this here, right?
Oh
like
yeah.
This sort of like, what's it called? Well, it's okay.
Yeah, I know what one you're talking about.
Serratus.
Serratus, yeah.
Oh, thank you, Raf, and thank you, Anthony. And then it sort of like becomes the oblique. I mean, it's sort of like intercross with the oblique, and so it sort of falls in direction. So basically, to know the direction of this serratus, thank you, Papi Churros. You go from, you draw a line from the center of the collarbone through, like loosely, like and it's obviously it's a superficial detail, so it can move a lot, but like the nipple, like where you'd think the nipple would be, and you draw a line like this, and it will sort of give you the like a good solid approximation for where the serratus would be. Just a little mnemonic device here. Oh yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
mean the chest muscles connected to your arm bones?
Yeah, the pectorals.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I can.
Yeah, they're like connected, like here,
Yeah.
right here, like I forget if it's under. It's probably here. Yeah, because when you do push-ups and stuff like that, like
Yeah.
it's your pec like sort of pulling your arm like forward like this.
Yeah.
As you can see with my huge like biceps and pecs.
I was gonna say the same thing about myself, so it's fine.
I look like a chicken carcass that just sort of waving in the wind, you know, like.
Yeah. I get Melissa commenting on how skinny I am all the time. She's like, "You need to eat more." I'm like, "Yes, mom. Okay." Thanks, Melissa.
Yeah. Oh my god. Anyway, so yeah, I'm sort of drawing the median line for all these here.
Huge Hansen Giga Chats.
Giga Chats, yeah. I'll take it. You know what?
Yeah.
In this little bubble, this is our safe space. In this art space. Yeah.
I'll take it until I step outside and get blown over by the wind.
Exactly. I can wait to tell my wife I'm actually a Giga Chad. Sure, she'll be impressed. You know what they said today at work? I'm a Giga Chad.
I'm a Giga Chad. What are you? It's funny.
Okay. Oh, one thing too. Like, all right. So far I've drawn this like pretty like straight line between the knee and the ankle. But actually, it's much more accurate to add a bit of, you know, like make the you know just up from the ankle, make it a little more like this, and then have it curve. Like basically, you do this and this essentially. One line like this and one line a little more like this. Instead of just a straight line, which looks a little bit thick, you know. It's really not super accurate because my picture, like this thing I drew before, like it's also not super accurate. So
yeah,
it's kind of a weird exercise of like repeating kind of a not so great anatomy in this case here. I mean, I guess it's a kind of consoling thing, like when you draw from an artist that you like, even a working artist, by doing this exercise and trying to redraw what they did, you can find actually like maybe some mistakes. Like you might actually know more than they know in some aspects. It's kind of reassuring knowing that you don't have to actually be an absolute master, like a omniscient master of anatomy. You can actually, you can get away with a lot for sure.
As long as it looks okay. If it looks right, then that's what matters.
Exactly.
Rob Jr. said, "I started practicing exercising many years ago, and it helps me understand the mechanics of muscles." Yeah, maybe I should. I should probably start doing that too.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine, Christian Fabi. Like we've been colleagues we were colleagues back when we were both living in Thailand, and we were both working at this little video game studio. And he's like shaped like this, like he's just pure muscle from like yeah, from his mohawk down to his ankles, it's like pure muscle, and you can tell because he actually did some character concept for like he designed one character for Tekken back in the day, or at least it was like part of the overall like concept work for that character. But his what he did actually influenced a lot the final look of the character, and the intricacy of like and the natural like way you could make it look like the delt and the transition into the bicep and the tricep, and in a way that like someone who actually tries to cultivate muscle in a aesthetic way can understand and make look cool. And instead of just, oh yeah, tricep, bicep, deltoid, looks good enough to me, looks muscular to me, good enough. But no, like to a real like the more you exercise, apparently, I don't know, but the more the keener your sense of actually like what makes a beautiful physique becomes. And he's always been a huge inspiration for me. It's to me it's really hard to concile like a healthy exercise like outdoor life, and art life. But for some people it's like hand in hand, like they are good at gym and are good artists as well.
Yeah,
it's unfair.
Yeah, I mean, when we get Tulio on the stream, he's a good example of that. Like Tulio he's got muscle. Nah, I need to get back into exercising. I've been the last year has been too laid back.
Yeah,
me
too. One thing, like personally, I like physique to be a byproduct of exercise. Like I really have a hard time convincing myself that going to the gym is fun, and it's not even supposed to be fun. I know, like it's supposed to be just like you motivate yourself, you do it, and that's it, But for me, like climbing, like bouldering, climbing, all that stuff, that's been to me like fun to do because there's a sort of problem, like you're trying to climb a certain route or route, however it's called, and you try and like you develop your physique trying to do that. So there's kind of an entertaining kind of a carrot dangling. You're trying to finish that thing, that project, and by you're actually cultivating your physique. That's something I miss out.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean that's the exercise that I do. I do bouldering.
Oh really?
Yeah,
oh, cool.
yeah. I say I haven't been in a while. Earlier, sort of fairly early last year, I hurt my ankle, and it only just has sort of gone back to being normal again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'd only just started doing it, and I was really enjoying it because you can see your progress week by week as well. If you're like doing the same course every week, even if you're not spending the whole session on it, it's just so impressive. Maybe you're getting like an extra hold that you couldn't get last week or something. It was really satisfying. And I'm the same as you. I can't find enjoyment in a gym, like lifting weights. I just can't do it. I don't think it's who I am.
Yeah. I feel you.
Yeah. We have a couple questions. When's the figure drawing stage done for you, Arthur? Or how do you think about where you want to put down lines, especially when it comes to the eyes and other details?
Yeah, okay. So right now I'm kind of noodling and refining this. This is plenty, at this stage. I was just sort of refining this hand here, making it look, especially the segments. Like I like to really indicate the segments for the finger, like each digit, really, just to avoid the vagary of like, the sausage fingers. But yeah, like so that would be it, pretty much, as a base figure. And then let me see actually if I have this one in the in my folder of sketches that I did for Blizzard.
Man, the fact that you have everything so well organized that you can find it within seconds is impressive.
Yeah, so this is it, right? This is a sketch for that character. So back at that time, I really enjoyed like fine-tuning the design, everything, you know. Now I'm a bit more in between because there's a lot that some mistakes that are not clear in line art. That once you have the lighting, the colors, everything, it's sort of some things, some areas look too empty, some areas look just not anatomically correct.
Mm-hmm.
They don't fill the space exactly properly. There's a bit of uh, like like line art can create a bit of confusion, especially when it's overly detailed. It can create an idea, a sense of busyness, where it's actually not that busy, you know, once you add colors to it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, yeah, this is where, so I would basically, from like to get from that figure here to that line art, it would take me, I think, a full day. And I would just lower the opacity of that base layer and start, you know, like actually drawing like the superficial details.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all that rope, all that stuff, like just the costuming, the veins, all that stuff, using this as a base, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. So shall we do the dreaded reveal?
Yeah, let's go. I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be good. I think it's gonna be pretty close.
Yeah,
But
let me
you
just
know, what do I know?
for clear. Let's let's see. I'll just create a little mask here just to okay. Let me snap it to the side. So we have a nice okay. So there's already a bit of like, you know, bit of trouble. It's that overall like the my sense of like where the character sits in the composition
Mm.
is a bit off. Uh, so yeah, oh my god, this is so off. Zoom in. Okay, let me just show a bit. I'll just duplicate the be a little less. Okay, okay, just to make it thicker, just so it's more visible. Okay, so let's take a nice big sharp brush, make it red, and point out where it's wrong. So this alignment is okay, but the size of the head is like off by quite a bit. Uh, that angle is off. That's off. That's way off. That,
Wow. It's
yeah,
funny you just don't notice it until it's sat on top of it.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
nuts.
It's so off. Let's see. Okay, let's actually see
if if uh
if
if
it's a matter
crafts
of
is
yeah,
if crafts is still here, I just want to say this like just goes to show how amazing you did on your first go round, you know.
yeah,
um, that was
for
amazing.
sure. All right, so there's like there's a problem of scaling, right? So by scaling it down in just the right spot, I can sort of, you know, it's
Yeah.
the overall like proportions are a bit better, uh, but it's no excuse, of course. Yeah, right. So yeah, size of everything is a bit off. Like when you have small things to compare with, for example, the fingers,
Mm.
it's easier to sort of be closer to it. Uh, if I scale a little up here, and if I wrote it just so, you know, what, of course, it's a lot of, you know, cheating and everything, but
If I
it
make it fit,
once
it
it's
fits.
yeah, if I make it fit, it, you know, it's easier for small details to align properly because it's easier because you have less distance between details, so it's easier to sort of gauge everything and make everything fit.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but let's yeah, yeah, it's off in many ways. It's it's sort of correct in some ways. Mm, let's see. Like the overall, Like the chest is not too bad.
Mhm.
Like the median line is kind of okay. Like that thing here. The side of it also is okay. Yeah, it's. I give myself a solid 6 out of 10.
It's above average. That's pretty good. I'll
Yeah,
take that as a win.
yeah. So it's yeah. I mean, it's not supposed. The goal is not to think you're not a good artist
Yeah.
until you can truly match everything. It's supposed to be revelatory every time
Mm.
you do it, and it's supposed to just train your sense of appreciation, like your sense of observation, on and on and on. It just and what you grow really is not the ability to copy exactly the thing. Is
Mhm.
you grow an ability to interpret form and to hopefully enrich your sort of mental, like your reference bank. And later, when you need, a feature that sort of looks like that arm, you'll have somewhere, hopefully, if the exercise is
Yeah.
fresh and if you keep these exercises going, you'll be able to sort of pull it out of your memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's it, guys.
um, we got.
Oh, how would I yeah.
Oh no, no, you go. You go ahead.
Okay, I was just reading the question. How would you compose the background from there? Okay, so a very important thing to do. This is just an exercise of observation, right? So I just, but from what I would do is then plot a perspective grid, either before doing this ideally before. So okay, so let's go through the motions. When you draw like this sort of basic gesture, this thing here, when you just like your first sort of approach to a sketch, uh, like I mean, this is not like we're out of the exercise. It's no longer like the exercise of copying anything. I'm just like going
Yeah.
through the motions of like composing a figure or like an illustration. First, you have like you just pose your character however you want. You're like, okay, I'll be like this. I want this like to occupy this much of the composition. It'll be like this. It's gonna look like this way. Uh, that arm is gonna come forward, kind of like this maybe. You do your, you do your whole thing, right? And once you have like, you can even like add some indications of like perspective or what kind of buildings you want on the side or background elements that would be sort of framing the character.
Mm.
Maybe just like let's just take the example, very easy example of like ruin stones, like something not necessarily orthographic in perspective, but just something, yeah, whatever, just a vague nature background, right? Then the next thing I would do from here is plot a perspective grid. So let me go through. Okay, this is my vanishing point. So I have this sort of square file with like Photoshop file with like verticals and a vanishing point.
Mm-hmm.
I also have like lines that are curved like this when I want to do a curved perspective, but that's for another day. That's its own beast. So yeah, I would then place my horizon wherever it sort of matches my rough sketch the best. And I would duplicate the vanishing point and just stretch it to the opposite side.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to stretch it enough so that the squares on the floor look, reasonably distorted. So this is still a bit too elongated, too exaggerated. So what I would do is just duplicate that second vanishing point, the one that extends to the left, and do something like this. So right away we have a perspective that looks flatter. It looks more, like something that we would see with the human eyes. It's not so distorted. Then I would add verticals. So however you deal with perspective, I mean, for me, it's just like these two steps. We've talked about this before when it was in our first live stream together, when you were telling me, when we were doing these portfolio reviews or like
Yes.
illustration reviews. So I was just like mentioning perspective like this. Yeah, so it's you were mentioning that there are like plugins and stuff like that. I don't use any of these because I'm just used to this thing, but this is not like what I necessarily recommend. It's just my way of doing things. But what matters is really that you have solid cues for perspective. If it's just a few lines and you're okay with that, if it's like a proper XYZ setup like here, I'm a bit of a control freak, so I go for usually like a fully displayed perspective grid. And then I just lower the opacity and go ahead like either from this pose here, like from this layer, or on a new layer, you sketch over, whichever you prefer. It really depends, of course. And I would just go ahead and like sort of refine using that perspective grid to really show me the depth of my painting and the angle of view of what I'm trying to compose. I would sort of like go ahead and do this, and drawing my figure more accurately, more precisely in space. And the same would go for the background. Just suddenly I would have more cues as to the change in elevation of the background. So either you plot things like really perfectly in perspective, like like buildings, really following the lines of your perspective and all that stuff. You don't have to do this. It can be just a very loose organic background, like trees and rocks and stuff. So nothing really that needs to be perfectly aligned to the grid. But what the grid will inform you is to where those objects sit in relation, like in space, in relation to your character, and also the change in angle of view. Closer to the horizon, you're at eye level, and then the further up you go, the more you're looking up at things. So that should inform you as to how trees look from below. How much from below are you looking at those trees? So no matter how abstract your environment is, it's still nice to have a perspective grid, or at least enough perspective indication to understand that change in elevation and that relationship in space with the character. Mm-hmm. And for illustrations, what I do is like for Hearthstone cards, at least what I've always been encouraged to do by art directors and just the style guide in general is to use the background as just a sort of framing supporting element. It shouldn't be attracting too much attention. It's going to be very hard to see anyway. The contrast should be focused on, like, there should be maximum contrast on the character, so the darkest darks, the brightest brights should be on the character, the warmest colors also on the character, and the background is like kind of more in the mid-tones or brighter tones, less saturated, no, not less saturated, but less contrasted, usually colder in color, and and those background elements are just here to frame the character. So I just came up with these two shapes here as a sort of like, something to frame the character. It was not in the style guide or whatever, or, it was not really in the references that I was given. Yeah. Just something I figured, like, okay, let's just make some sort of wall. Let's have the perspective sort of point towards the character. And he's sort of like lurking around in this sort of labyrinth, maybe. Mm. So we feel a bit of sense of claustrophobia, like he's sort of reaching forward. He's going to grab us with his dirty claws. But it's all kind of self-justifying. It's just, yeah, let's just put a big shape here just to have some sort of foreground element, like extreme foreground. Let's make the tiling on the floor a bit irregular, so it's not like this square, boring, perspective thing. Something a bit more irregular, and something where the shape the shapes become smaller the further you go, to indicate a nice progression in perspective. So everything is supportive, you know, like there was this big empty space here between his legs. So I added this sort of helmet shape here. The orientation of the horns, all that stuff is just based on trying to fill that void here in an interesting fashion. But it's all abstract and self-justifying. You know, it's all here just to support the character. In the case of those card illustrations.
Mhm.
And there should be, it's just there to sort of anchor the character, make it look like it's something's happening, like it's not just floating in space.
Cool.
All right.
I think that's gonna have to be it for today.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. That was great. It was really useful, and it was good to see people following along in the Discord as well. We got 2 from Crafts and 1 from Elvira as well. Elvira,
Let me
yours
see.
was really nice.
Oh yeah. Oh. Well, Elvira, actually, that stuff I drew from yeah. That's great. That's wow, very old card, and some old cinematic I drew from way back. Thank you for using my art. It's really cool. That's really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, really nice job, everybody. And if you haven't finished yours yet, that's fine. Take as long as you need to. And feel free to show us in the study room on Discord if you like. Before we finish off, I would just like to say that tomorrow we have portfolio reviews with Yoris. There is still time
Cool.
to submit your portfolio if you want to be in with a chance of having it looked at. Just go into the Discord. There's a channel called Portfolio Submissions. Put it in there with a little paragraph about what it is that you'll be looking for, and I'll let you know if you get picked for a review. But if you don't, it's still worth coming along anyway, because a lot of the information we give out is universal. So either way, it'll be a good time. Yoris is lovely, and it'll be great. But until then, thank you again, Arthur. Thank you again, everybody watching.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jayden. Thanks for
No
setting it up.
And I will speak to you guys later. So, bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Thanks for coming.